You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Okay, here we go. 57 days away from puck drop, the latest edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill as the summer roars on. Safe to say it is the dog days of the summer at this point, Rosie. How are you, bud?
It's the doggy days. Yeah, we're soaking it up. You know what bugs me is how, like, in this country we have 2 months of summer, right? But as soon as, like, August 15th rolls around, everyone's like, well, summer's over and kids are back in hockey camp. It's like, why can't we just take the 2 months for summer and then do the other shit afterwards? But no, people are too horny to get going again. I guess that means we're creeping closer to hockey season, though.
Yeah, that's the good news, certainly. And even last night I was watching the Ivan Halenka, I guess, is underway. And anytime you can get hockey in the month of August, especially when it's the future, you see kids like Landon DuPont out there. You're like, man, like for as much as we've wondered about the Canadian national squad the last couple of years, there's always talent coming. And it's always fun to see these guys before they're like studs. Like even putting the show rundown together, I still remember 2009 and being at the World Junior in Ottawa and seeing the star power at that tournament. And now those guys are like full-fledged future Hall of Famers. It's crazy, man. Time flies.
Yeah, it is. I saw something, I don't know, it's AI, take it for what it's worth, but AI predicted the top NHLers in 10 years, and they had DuPont at the top. I think McDavid is like 6th or 8th or something. Kind of gave me a chuckle, though, but Mickey DuPont, his dad, I used to train with him and skate with him in the summertime, and he had a long career and whatnot and finished over in Europe, and definitely a good player. But early on, I heard about his kid being like stupid good, like at 9 years old and 10 years old. And I was kind of like, all right, let's settle down and let this kid get through puberty and learn about beer and girls and whatnot before we get too excited. But no, he is a prodigy, and it's fun seeing him come down the barrel the year after McKenna. I think he's 2027 draft and already slated for number 1 overall. So pretty cool to see those kids out in full force in the summertime. What is there some Canadian goaltenders coming down the barrel? That's probably something we're due for.
Dude, I wish, man. Like, I don't know. There's always guys with hope, but then they get to like the NHL or they get to like the AHL and they never really come to fruition. I don't know what it is with goaltending in this country, but why can't we just have like a Carey Price that just is there for the next 15 years or Marc-Andre Fleury? It just seems like they're like, even if you look at the goaltending, man, for the Olympics, like I guess Jordan Binnington's the number 1. Like who else is there, I guess is the question. You're right.
Well, that was the whole talk, but behind the Four Nations face-off, like you could have as good a team in front of a goaltender as you want, but if the goaltender is letting in squeakers or softies or isn't a big game player or just doesn't have it or isn't that high a caliber of goalie, you don't really have a chance. And Benner stepped up big time and was that guy. So we're lucky we got somebody. But yeah, there's no like Carey Price or Marc-Andre Fleury like you say. And who knows, keep our eyes peeled coming down the barrel at some of the prospects coming up. I'm sure there's hope.
Luckily, Canada is so good. They really don't need goaltending. That's been a story, I would say, for the last 15 years. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the number 1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. And I shouldn't say that because they had Carey Price for a variety of years. And when you have the best goaltender on the planet, I think it makes the game pretty simple. And the domination, I think from that standpoint, I think it's actually a good thing for the game to see so many nations getting closer and closer to Canada, whether it's the States, obviously a big focus of conversation on today's podcast with Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators coming up in about 10 minutes from now. The Finns, the Swedes, like there's just so many different teams, not to mention like out of sight, out of mind. When's the last time we saw Russia play Canada? Like it's been like 5 or 6 years at this point.
I know. You look at the names that are not going to be participating in the Olympics that are Russian names. It's a powerhouse. And man, we saw that Four Nations face off and saw the international play and some of these players that are in their prime. Like we're in a pretty nasty era of hockey right now. McDavid, Draisaitl in their primes, all these players, and you can't really get it going to the degree you could if Russia was in it. I don't give a shit about your politics or your stance or whatever. I'm talking hockey here, and we just simply don't have the best of the best at these best on best tournaments. So a little bit disappointing, but the Four Nations face-off obviously showed us that you can get some pretty good stuff out of it, albeit was it last week we're talking about, or maybe the week before, and it kind of buzz killed me because I'm like, God, these playoffs or these Olympics are, coming down the barrel here. Very exciting. Cannot wait to like pick up where we left off. And then it's like, oh yeah, international reffing. It's probably not going to have the intensity it did until later on in the later rounds, but nonetheless, all the big boys are going to get together, and that'll be exciting.
Yeah, that's one of the topics I want to get into with today's guest, Brady Tkachuk, the captain of the Ottawa Senators, coming up in about 10 minutes' time. Does he foresee the Olympic game and the way it's played being a lot different than the Four Nations? Of course, the Tkachuk brothers, maybe that was, I wouldn't even call it their coming out party, but a big story for Team USA, and I think obviously part of the leadership core there. But the fights to start the game off against Canada, we're not seeing that at the Olympics, dude. As much as we want to see that in Milan Cortina, we're not going to see that. And I wonder, too, how these teams are picked. Like, we have these orientation camps coming up. Do they go with the exact same players, or do they try to model their rosters after what they would want to play against in a IIHF sort of ref event? That's the question.
Yeah, I know. It is always the question. And sometimes they try to big brain it and,
True.
not take the best players. I think that's kind of, I think if you look at Team Canada in the World Junior this year, I think they tried to big brain a little bit and not bring the best players. So it's a tough job. But I do think you'd be smart to pick your team according to, whether you're playing on Olympic ice or not, whether it's being reffed by some doughhead from Argentina or whatever the hell's going on over there. It's you got to play the game according to how it's set up. So we'll see what they put together. I'm sure obviously the big boys are going to be in place, and then there'll be some tinkering on the outsides, but we'll be watching that closely as the fall draws near.
Speaking of the big boys, what do they say? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Brady Tkachuk, the captain of the Ottawa Senators, is stopping by today's podcast. How do you feel about that, Rosie?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. I've been vocal about being a big fan of him. I don't care if he's an Ottawa senator or not. I like the way the kid plays hockey, and I've said that if you were to have a handful of guys to build a team around that's in their prime or coming up to it, he'd be one of them for sure. And again, I like his compete level, and we saw Four Nations face off and playoffs, and just the way the guy operates. Comes from good stock, obviously, and it's exciting to have him on the show here today.
Those Tkachuks built a bit differently for sure. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Over the weekend, Rosie had friends and family together, threw a little birthday soiree, especially on Sunday, hanging out with the fam. And what did I do? I brought some Simply Spiked, and it was the best time ever. I brought the lemonade, the peach, the all-new limeade flavor. It's made with real fruit juice and 5% alcohol. It's refreshing. We had a barbecue. It fits with so many different aspects, and I sort of became the life of the party, not just because it was my birthday, because I brought the Simply Spiked, and it was an awesome time over the weekend.
Yeah, I was able to pop out to the cabin there in BC, and couple pontoon cruises, and I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs trying to get a date for surgery here, which I got for tomorrow. But
Huge.
During that time of waiting, it was not bad having a cooler full of Simply Spiked on the pontoon and cruising up and down the lake. It was refreshing, and like we said, we are still in the dog days of summer here. A good time to go pick yourself up a case.
I wish I could smuggle a couple of those over to Europe for some pre-drinks. Unfortunately, I can't. Maybe I can try to find a way to find some Simply Spiked over in Europe starting on Thursday. It must be legal drinking age. Celebrate responsibly. Simply Spiked. This is what summer tastes like. And obviously a big topic of conversation, the Battle of Ontario today. I thought it'd be a good time to sort of revisit the Battle of Ontario, going to 6 games. It really feels like it's back. I think the last decade, we've been hoping for these two teams to both be good again. I think it's safe to say the Ottawa Senators have taken that next step. They finally make the playoffs. And I think the Battle of Ontario lived up to the billing. I know the Maple Leafs were up 3-0 in that series, maybe a bit closer than people would have suspected. But How do you look at these two squads entering this 25-26 season now, Rosie?
Yeah, we'll see. I think I definitely think the Sens are up and coming. I don't think anyone would argue with that. I think they're outmatched in that playoff series for sure. Like you said, they're up 3 Cobb, and they made a series of it. Ottawa did, but again, with Brady Tkachuk leadership and some of the guys that are up and coming, they've made some tweaks over the last couple of years, and I think there's a chance that does become a big rivalry. On the Toronto side of things, I guess yet to be seen how this team operates with kind of the new look they have, but I'm of the ilk that they're not going to take a huge step back. Might be some growing pains getting used to some things, but I still think they're going to be a powerhouse, and quite likely they could meet again in the playoffs. And like you said, I think the Battle of Ontario is only getting stronger as time goes on.
It's going to be a battle to even make the playoffs, I think, in the division. When you look at some of the teams involved, you got the Panthers looking for a third straight Stanley Cup. You got Tampa, who people think may be a bit better. You got the Maple Leafs. You got the Ottawa Senators. Detroit finally picks up a goaltender in John Gibson. The Montreal Canadiens, really, really young, but I think they're going to be in the thorn in the side of every opponent this season. They're only getting better. But you look at Ottawa's offseason, they had Jordan Spence, who was looking for playing time on the back end in Los Angeles, couldn't get it, so got his way out of there now with the Ottawa Senators. You got Lars Eller, who's a veteran, probably be their fourth-line center. And Arthur Kaliev is an intriguing name as well, a guy who scored back in his junior days. And almost sort of a similar file, in my opinion, to Nick Robertson, where he can't seem to find consistency at the NHL level. And, I think they took a flyer on him. There's a familiarity as well with the Brain Trust, including their GM there back from their days in Hamilton together. So like the Leafs, I think Ottawa has some question marks entering the season. But from their perspective, I don't know how much better they are. They lost Anton Forsberg, Travis Hamonic, and Adam Gaudette as well.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Brady his thoughts on getting better. I imagine he's going to be positive about it. But I think they are one of those teams where it's kind of like, what's this going to look like? And it's always funny taking flyers on guys and putting guys in places where you have this feeling that it could work, but you still feel like you're rolling the dice a little bit. I think a lot of teams are in that boat right now. You try to make the changes to get better because the fans are demanding it, and sometimes it's not always a black and white decision for the general managers to get the team better. So we will see, and I think that's going to be one of the interesting things, is especially in this division, is who's going to take that step, who's going to take a step back. You mentioned the Montreal Canadiens. Kind of just had them out of sight, out of mind for a while. They're thinking they're in a rebuild, but I think they're ahead of schedule. I'm a big believer in Marty St. Louis and what he's doing. Obviously, I don't want them to do well. Obviously, I don't like them, coming down the barrel and knocking at the door of being a good team in that division. But it is the NHL, and this division specifically is always super competitive. So it'll be a dogfight. It'll be interesting. I imagine there'll be some jostling for position throughout the entire regular season.
I love, social media too. The last couple days, I don't know if you saw it. They posted your video and your fight with Kyle Clifford. Then we saw the one against Ottawa with Francis Lessard. I think about you've talked about on this pod. And man, he looked like a tough customer. Was that the only time you fought Lessard?
No, I'd fight him in the minors a few times. He was a pure lefty, absolute maniac. So I'd kind of trade with him. But the thing I like about that is Bob Cole is on the call there, and the late great Bob Cole. So that one's one of my favorites for that reason. It's from the net cam too, is kind of a cool view. So that was cool to see.
I love watching the footage from back in the day. As you bring in today's guest, he is the captain of the Ottawa Senators. It is Brady Tkachuk. Brady, thank you so much for doing this. How's your summer going?
Things are great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Our pleasure. You gotta break this down. How many times have you belted out Mr. Brightside thus far this summer? I know you've had a couple weddings too.
Oof. It's been probably less than some past summers, but probably the best one was at Matthew's wedding this summer. So that got people going.
I bet. Brady, take us through what your summer routine looks like as you're in the off season here.
Yeah, I'm just starting to ramp up. I'm a big proponent of taking some time off away from the ice and letting your kind of body heal and work on things that you need to get better and stronger in the gym, faster on the turf. So I like to be in the gym, like 3 times a week on the turf, track, field, different type of stuff like that twice. and I'm a big believer in Pilates and boxing, and Pilates, I think, just helps your overall strength, mobility, and being comfortable in, I guess, uncomfortable positions. And boxing, I think it's way better to, hit some pads or hit the boxing bag versus, going all out on the bike. So I love adding that to, the regime, and it's been awesome.
Brady, got to congratulate you as well. Obviously, last week it comes out, and as somebody who played the NHL video game for so many years, you're on the cover with your old man and your brother Matthew. Like, what was that whole experience like? And like, how did you guys find out that you're getting that honor?
I mean, it's a tremendous honor. I think Matthew said it best. Like, you never really, kind of see it happen as a kid, but now that it's here and now that opportunity was presented and it's happened, it's a dream come true. I think if you go back to our 10-year-old selves, they'd be losing their mind right now that we'd be on the cover. And no, just got a text from our agent that it was a possibility, and that a couple weeks later it was a done deal. So we were super fired up, and they were easy, and it was just so special to share that with my dad and brother.
Brady, I want to take you back to last season's playoff run against the Leafs. What's the first thing that stands out about that series to you?
Well, I mean, of course they have such a great team. We knew going into it, it's probably the deepest team that they've had in the last couple of years, and we knew it was going to be a dogfight right from the opening puck drop all the way to the final whistle there. And of course, there's a lot of time this summer that you could have, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and I mean, games 2, 3, 4, all overtime, and just a one-shot difference. So, yeah, I think what's great about it is there's so many learning lessons within that I know I've taken, and I know it's going to make me, not just a better player, but a better captain as well.
And your career was building up to this. You finally get your first shot at the Stanley Cup playoffs. And in general, hockey fans are horned up. We see you at the Four Nations. How much different did that Battle of Ontario feel going from the regular season to the Stanley Cup playoffs? Did it live up to the billing of what you imagined it would be?
Yeah, no, 100%. Of course, there's a lot of talk going into it. And I think it was great for both cities to kind of relive those memories. But I think we're living in kind of a different age and era of hockey where there wasn't going to be fights, and just that's not how their team was built. That's not really how our team is built. It's going to be a really hard competitive battles every single shift, but there's not going to be no line brawls and going toe to toe. But no, I think it was just pretty cool to see, of course, first two games, first two playoff experiences, and hearing their building was super loud, and of course the chants, the chirps, was a pretty cool experience. And then getting back to our building and being a part of the loudest building that I've ever been in, it was so cool. It was I think it's just spoke to the years of adversity that we faced, and for everybody to get through that, not just our team but our city. I think it was pretty special to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Brady, it's no secret that you get pretty jacked up for international play and the ability to play for your country. And being an Olympic year, that's going to happen here again. Is it hard for you to switch off the fact that these guys are normally your enemies, and then all of a sudden, in the snap of a finger, you got to become teammates with them and really go to war?
I think it's mutual for everybody. Is the best way I can describe it. Is of course, once we get together, there's just so many connections that honestly I didn't even realize. Like Jake Ottinger, I played with him at BU, and so it's easy to connect with him. And Jack Hughes, of course, our relationship as families, and all the national team development guys that were not just 97's my brother's age that I know, but just throughout the years, all those guys that played, you kind of have that mutual connection of sharing experiences. So you kind of already have those roots of relationships with guys, and it's just such a short tournament. So I think everybody's mindset is just, the quickest team that gels together and becomes a team, and same goal, same mission, then that's going to be the most successful team. And, I thought, Four Nations, that group was one of the closest that I've ever been a part of. And, I expect, the Olympics to be the same, or if not better.
What's Austin Matthews like behind the scenes?
I've known Austin since I think I was 14 or 15, and he's always been so good. And no, he's just so funny and such a uh, great guy to be around, and was pretty awesome for me to be able to learn from him and him as a captain and what makes kind of himself and of course one of the best players in the NHL and I was just super impressed with how dialed in he was and so professional and how even keel he was that it almost felt like nothing bothers him and he just is going to go out there lead by example with his work ethic and I think a lot of the things that he does goes under the radar and it's just now he's of course such an important piece for our team but I was just very lucky to be able to learn from him as well.
I'm curious, Brady, do you think the Maple Leafs got better this offseason or what's your thoughts on their squad this year?
Honestly, I haven't really kind of paid attention to a lot of teams. I've kind of just been really focused on our team, and I mean, it's hard not to say everybody in our division got better or is going to be the same or better. So I'll be interested to see, and of course, there's going to be some battles there from our last playoff experience. So yeah, I think I was kind of on this call a little bit before I hopped on, just kind of hearing, just Montreal, Toronto, Florida's still top of the mountain. Tampa's always good. Buffalo, Detroit. I know I'm missing a team, but everybody's gotten better. There's just I think it's the toughest division in the league. So you really got to make your mark when the time comes in those big divisional games.
Yeah, poor Buffalo. Got to mention as well, you and your bro, some of the biggest trollers in the league. I could picture you guys just sitting there with popcorn in hand watching the whole Mitch Marner situation unfold. What'd you make of all that?
Yeah, I mean, I know Matthew played with Mitch, and I've just gotten to know Mitch over the last couple of years. So obviously, I don't really know the ins and outs of negotiation. I know how my negotiation went, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows until something gets done. Then it becomes great. So obviously, they didn't agree, and Vegas could be the best thing for him. And when it comes to a change, I bet change is hard, but yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see and all that stuff.
Yeah, and with your Sens team, being up and coming and look like they're getting better all the time, being coached by Travis Green, is that something that is that relationship pretty solid? And would you have a tough time playing for, say, a softer coach if it wasn't Greener?
No, I mean I think he's been great for our group. I think it showed this year the things that he really wanted us to focus on. I think we bought into that and that mindset kind of got us to where we are. And it always helps to have a guy who played behind the bench too. That now he's not just coaching; he can back it up too with his playing career. So I think he was the best thing for us. And yeah, he's not afraid to hold everybody accountable, which I think that's important. That nobody's kind of able to do whatever they want. It's all about the team, and that's been our focus right from day one that he's got here. It's how are each individual going to help this team win and get us to that next spot that we want to get to.
Yeah, and I thought that was a fun little wrinkle to the Battle of Ontario in the Stanley Cup playoffs is that Greeny played for both sides, the Maple Leafs, and obviously coaching now with the Ottawa Senators. I'd be remiss if we didn't wrap by asking you about the big news on Monday regarding your Ottawa Senators. The Sens and the National Capital Commission agreed on the sale, of 4.5 hectares of land at LeBreton Flats, which means the process is underway to get you guys a new building. What'd you make of all that news on Monday?
Yeah, I just kind of saw that. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of all that stuff behind the scenes. All I've seen is there's more hurdles to get to. So I don't know what that entails, but I think it's exciting. I think it's of course we have a great rink that we're playing at now, but I think a rink downtown will just I think it makes more accessible for people all across the city. So the more people that it's accessible to, that more support, more fan base, and even though I think we have the best fan base in the league, so no, it's exciting, and of course we'll have to wait and see.
Brady, I was just last one for me. I've been vocal about liking the way that you play with the intensity that you bring to the table. Was there a player that stood out to you growing up that you kind of idolized, or who did you follow coming up?
Whew. I mean, it was easy as, growing up as a kid. Obviously, I didn't really know the ins and outs, but my dad and the way he played, I think it was, he was teaching us as a coach, kind of how to play and compete and be a good teammate. But as I kind of get through juniors and through college, Jamie Benn and Tom Wilson were the guys that I kind of.
I think we lost him. I'll send him my best, but
To start
that was
moving.
yeah, that's what happened. Brady Tkachuk, the captain of the Ottawa Senators. What a fun interview, though, man. It's cool to get that perspective behind the scenes of how his offseason's looking and sort of mapping out the rivalry as well between the Leafs and the Senators, right, Rosie?
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that interview. The way he operates is pretty confident, pretty all business, knows what he's doing, knows what he's thinking, and it's again, leadership, guy that knows what he's doing and comes from good stock. So I'm not surprised, but it was good for him to join us. I imagine he's just leaving the gym or something and he's got some things to do.
It's all good. I'll send him a text and thank him for his time today, but always great to get sort of the opposition on as well. I know we're a Maple Leafs podcast, but even reading our chat, man, a lot of respect for Brady Tkachuk. I know you got it. I got it. I think he's a hell of a player. And honestly, when they play Ottawa, I'm like, shit, I hope Tkachuk doesn't go off tonight. So it's cool to get that perspective. And I think when you look at Ottawa, I think you have to be realistic in the fact that team is getting better. I mean, along with the rest of the division. I mean, Brady talked about it as well, too, right?
Well, yeah, I think you're dumb if you don't pay attention to what's going on around you. And I think we keep our friends close and our enemies closer, and get anybody on this show that we can get some perspective on. And sometimes it's hard to get an honest take on what they think about the Leafs or their own team, and try to pick their brain. They're usually all pretty calm, cool, and calculated. But no, it's really nice to pick his brain and see where his head's at in the summer. And like you said, I think they're preparing to take a step this year, just like most of the teams in the division. But they're definitely up and coming because they've been on the back burner for a little while.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, especially if you like that interview there with the captain of the Ottawa Senators, Brady Tkachuk. And I thought it was interesting, too. We talked a bit about the news yesterday, LeBreton Flats, and there's still hurdles, Ben, but even being there, there was something so unique about being there for the Battle of Ontario, because that building, again, is going to turn 30 in 2026, Rosie. Like walking through the concourse, it is so much different than, say, like I'm sure you've been to Edmonton's barn, one of the newer barns in the league, even like Scotiabank Arena under some renovations right now. It's got that gritty feel to it, even though it's like just 30 years old. But it still brings back so many memories of some of those great Battle of Ontarios back in the day. But I think you talk about teams in this league, we're probably in dire need of a new building. The Ottawa Senators among that conversation. Close to your neck of the woods, the Calgary Flames finally getting one. It's always great to see a Canadian squad get one too.
Yeah, the Saddle Dome's going away, which is kind of sad. They need it. The inside of that thing's average, but the outside's so cool, shaped like a saddle. Like, are you kidding me? That was pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm surprised the Canadian Tire Center is that old. Doesn't look that old. It's not one of my favorite buildings in the world. It seems like an all-purpose venue. It's in the middle of a hayfield. I would not be sad if they blew that thing up and made something with a little more character downtown and had a vibe around it. I imagine they're pretty exciting. But for a guy like Brady, who, it takes a long time to build that stuff, I don't know if his sights are set down the road and playing in a new building when they literally just like pointed at the land it might go on. So a ways away yet, but anytime a team's moving in that direction, it's exciting.
Yeah, so many optics too, right? Like there are so many hurdles you have to beat. And it's unfortunate, as somebody who covers the entire NHL like I do, we've been talking about Ottawa getting a new building for like 10 years. And it just seems like there's hope. And then that's why they're not getting too high, too low. Like you heard Brady answer the question. Yeah, there's a level of excitement. You also got to remember too, a lot of moving parts, but if they get this green light on this building, it's not going to be good to go for like 5 to 7 years. And Who knows the turnover in this league at that point in time with free agency and that changing a bit. Like, you just never know with guys like Tkachuk and Sanderson and list other Ottawa Senators stars that they actually play in the new building.
Well, that's what I'm saying. These guys take it
Yeah.
one day at a time and focus on the next task ahead of them. To be looking 5-7 years ahead of a new building, I don't think they're getting too jazzed up about it. Maybe if you're a Calgary Flame on a multi-year deal, you're like, hey, this thing's coming sooner than later. That's kind of exciting. But yeah, the buildings today, I went on YouTube too and was checking out, different college rinks around it. And my alma mater and UMD and Duluth, they got a new barn there. The Ralph Engelstad Arena, as I flew down there and saw a game there beforehand even, and it's just kind of like the standard for college hockey, but there's some pretty cool stuff out there. I always think it's fun going behind the scenes of those buildings and checking out the atmosphere and the dressing room and all the amenities and facilities that these guys have, and they just keep getting better and better. And yeah, I was just recently checking out some of the college barns, and kind of blows me away how high end some of these rinks are.
I won't lie, on my bucket list has always been, from a hockey perspective, to watch a college hockey game, and I just haven't made it yet, which is interesting. I had friends who played college hockey. My brother actually went to a couple because he had a buddy who played down in the States, and he's like, Nick, like it's an experience unlike anything else. So I think that'd be pretty damn amazing. I think on my bucket list too would be watching the Olympics, like Olympic hockey. I don't think Milan's going to happen. I think it's hard to get press passes there, but I've just heard so many great things about college hockey. And of course, this is the summer of college hockey. Look at all the star power from the CHL now going to play college hockey in the States. And it's a pretty damn good experience from everything I hear. I think the World Juniors in Minnesota next year too, eh?
They are, hey, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. It's probably only getting better now with the changes that they've made in the CHL and eligibility wise. So, and it's different. Like right now, I'm watching that SEC. I guess it's a series on Netflix about the football division, the big SEC, and it's funny the different teams, the different fan bases, the buildings, where they are, like culturally, it's just a wild thing, and they all have their different nuances, and it's not too unsimilar to college hockey. You got the guys in the East and the guys in the Midwest, and there's some different divisions spread around, and they're kind of ever changing. But yeah, you go to some of these buildings, and it's exciting. The student section's going nuts. They got the band playing, and there's some pretty nice buildings, as I mentioned. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. If you're ever down and get a chance to watch a D1 NCAA men's hockey game, or women's too, it's all pretty good stuff.
In support of Sick Kids, Tammy, thank you so much for these super chats saying happy belated B-Day, Nick. Appreciate that, Tammy. Awesome job snagging Brady Tkachuk as a guest. Looking forward to the interview. Hope you enjoyed it, Tammy, at the Leafs Nation 4-1. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's hard to believe how quickly summer has gone, Rosie. This is the last time you and I will be together for a show, I guess, in August. Next time we'll reconvene is September. We still have shows. You and Zach will be doing some stuff. Me and Zach tomorrow, by the way, but just your general thought on the Maple Leafs as we get closer and closer, man. We're going to get to like the 40-day mark, the 35-day mark once we have our next conversation on this podcast.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I want to get the ball rolling, get going here. Mm-hmm. It'll be exciting when they open camp. It'll be exciting when they get some guys together, but I still don't think that tells you too much. A few exhibition games here and there, you might be able to kind of piece it together as it comes down to, the few X's before regular season. But I'm just curious to see the lineups. I'm curious to see how the goaltending's playing. Can they pick up where they left off? The D, can everyone stay healthy? And just the overall chemistry of the team is going to be exciting to watch. I hope there's some runway that they're given by the media and the fans, and that they get some time to get acclimated to each other. But as we keep mentioning, it's coming closer and closer. Every week's ticking by quick, and before you know it, we'll be right there. So it is definitely exciting.
If this is it for the off season, are you good? Are you fine? You feeling pretty good about this Maple Leafs team entering the year? I know a lot of people want them to make one more move and maybe pick up somebody to play with Nyes and Matthews in the top line.
Yeah, I would like that too. I think we've talked about the idea that they seem like they're kind of one name away from everything just kind of falling into place. Obviously not able to acquire that player yet. And, we got darn near $2 million in cap space. I'm okay with that. Maybe the decision on where we go and who we pick up will be made once we figure out what we have. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If some big blockbuster splashy move were announced this morning and they added XYZ name, and then you start to look at the depth chart and look at the lineup and say, oh my, like, I'm fine with that. But if it doesn't happen, which I think it's somewhat unlikely at the moment, I don't mind taking our cap space, taking a few months to figure out what we have. But whether it's later in the season or at the deadline, I don't think this is the team we're going to be rolling into playoffs with. But I don't mind taking a little while to see what we have and just gathering information, basically.
Fair enough. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. For my bet today, I'm going to the Blue Jays opener of their 3-game set with the Chicago Cubs. And I'm going to play total bases. I'm going to look at Bo Bichette over 1.5 bases at plus 100. The guy's had an incredible year. It's a contract year. They're coming off a rocky series, I would say, against the LA Dodgers. For my money, the best team in baseball right now. They lost 2 of 3. And I think they have to find a way to get on a winning note here against the Cubs. And I think Bichette's the one who leads that. So the over 1.5 bases for Bichette today.
Bo Bichette, I don't mind it. I'm just going with the run line. They are favored. I think it's at 1.5 runs, and it's plus 160. There's your money, Bet365 today.
Love it. And so you're going under the knife tomorrow. What's the talk? What's the scuttlebutt about that, man?
Yeah, so saw the surgeon yesterday. I got a full pectoral major tear, tendon off the bone, so they're going to go in there and dig that out and staple her back onto the bone there. And I thought it was 6 weeks in a sling. He said it's only about 2, so at least I'll be getting moving a little bit earlier. But yeah, I've been pretty mobile and been able to cruise around, but ultimately I noticed that there is a major muscle that's missing and everything else is compensating. And I just feel vulnerable and I don't like it. So we're going to go under the knife, get it done. But the rehab's pretty strenuous. It's about 3 months you're out of commission for and got some serious physio to do. So I was lucky not to have to do too much of that, surprisingly, throughout my career. But now as a 40-year-old, apparently I'm going under the knife and trying to get back to 100%. So thanks for that. Tomorrow I have it. Next time I'm on here, I'll probably be in a little slingy poo. Hopefully I'm not all doped up, though. It's not supposed to be too bad.
How long's the surgery?
I think it's about, what the hell? I read it. I think it's about a half an hour to 45 to an hour. It depends if they got to go digging in there for the retracted muscle and ligament and tendon and all the rest of it. So I don't know. I don't get too technical about it. I just listen to the doctors and the surgeons and say, fix me up there, doc. So hopefully that's exactly what happens.
You're stronger than me, man. I had surgery once. I got my tonsils out a couple years ago, and I vividly remember like they tried to like give me the IV, and like I hate needles, so like they had to do it on the operating room floor table. And I remember the last thing I remember is a doctor being like, "Oh, I operated an Ottawa Senators player last week," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, who?" And I fell asleep, man. But it was petrifying. I don't know. So we wish you a speedy recovery and good luck. Everything's going to go great tomorrow, and your new wing's going to be as great as ever, man.
Yeah, we will see. I've never gone under. I've never been under. I did kind of a scope of some throat thing or whatever, and I was kind of out. It was like a half-assed anesthesia.
Dude, it's wild. You just wake up, you're like, what the hell happened, man?
I know. It seems crazy to me that it's that common. Again, a little bit weirded out because, like I said, I've never been under the knife before, but which is kind of surprising. Everything I've done has been while I was awake. So nonetheless, yeah, enough about me. We'll have a new wing next time I'm here, and we'll move on.
Your best friend is the anesthesiologist. I can't even say the word. The anesthesiologist. There you go. Yes. The person who they come by and they're like, "What's your height? What's your weight? Better be bang on."
Yeah, seriously.
It's scary, man. I don't know. You'll be fine.
It is a
You'll be
weird
fine.
thing,
Okay,
man,
buddy.
to just go away when you're not even trying to. And I don't know. I'll just think of it as gonna have a little sleepy poo and wake up with a new wing.
Yes, sir. Okay, Rosie. So you'll be back in the mix next week. Moving forward, it's once a week. You and Zach Phillips starting next week. I'm headed for vacation, so we'll talk soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Have a good trip, man, and we will keep tabs on you and hold the fort down in the meantime.
We'll do the old Philatoss special. If you want to FaceTime me on one of the shows, just let me know, and we'll see how bombed I am, and I'll come on. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe with a better
six,
tan than
7, 8
Zach.
hours ahead of us, or what? I guess depends where you're at, but
Yeah, I think it's 5 or 6 hours. I'll be in Ireland to start, but by the time you guys do a show, I'll be probably in Spain or Italy next week. So we'll figure it out.
Ooh.
Good stuff, bud.
All right, man. Well, good luck with it, and we'll see you when we see you.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Once again, can't thank the captain of the Ottawa Senators, Brady Tkachuk, enough for hopping on the podcast today. So I appreciate that from him. Producer Vic, you're a gem. Me and Zach Phillips tomorrow, my final show before vacation, and we'll talk some prospects. I believe Stephen Ellis put out a list of top 10 Maple Leafs prospects, so we'll attack that list and much, much more coming your way tomorrow on Leafs Morning Take. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com.